take over, doesn't that mean they have the right to rule because they care to have power? They care to build civilization. They care to pick members of the public they believe are worth their weight to join them. Why don't you join them, Alex? The mere fact that you are aware of all this and care means you should join. In fact, I've even basically had the messages sent to me that I could join them now. And I sit here and watch the public wanting to be destroyed, wanting to be annihilated, wanting to have your soul sucked, wanting to turn yourself over to this false reality and this false culture of mind-controlled narcissists. When we come back, I'm getting into the evidence of the orchestrated worldwide collapse that we are warp speed moving towards. I'm going to talk to Paul Watson about a master article I want to write to come out tomorrow that ties it all together. So we're going to brainstorm together straight ahead, then I'll go over all the latest news that made me issue the total emergency alert. Stay with us. So here's the bottom line. The dominant ideology of the planetary ruling elite is a worship of science to build systems of advanced life extension and control of matter. And the general public just running around watching football and acting tough and women putting makeup on all day is seen as suboid and under social Darwinism, deserves to be annihilated and killed. And so they put out a whole pseudo-fake culture to break down the original human society to make us weak so we can be overwritten by the new system where we do not exist except in very small numbers. And this is all admitted by the compendium of thought of the ruling intellectuals. The problem is the general public doesn't watch that. They're busy race fighting and obsessing over sexual preference and, running around listening to pseudoscience about carbon. They want to tax carbon to take full control of society. They want to create a new dark age, new feudalism. And then just look at these headlines I'm going to cover when we come back in the next segment. But the reason I wanted to get Paul Watson on was to discuss with him writing a master article with him this evening and tomorrow morning for Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com that basically has a headline breaking down the fact that proof that global elite are orchestrating a worldwide collapse that they use to consolidate power. Use their quotes, use their examples, use the fact that they created the derivatives, they overthrew the Middle East, they put the radicals in charge, just showing down the line. And we'll also put on screen the article about internment camps for U.S. citizens. The fact that all this goes together with the government reports, with the Ministry of Defense, beyond denial, preparations for martial law in America, another very important video. And the other article Paul wrote 2 years ago off the Army's own public purchase plans. Paul, dig that headline up. I really want to show that. There it is. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plan for re-education camps in America. They even use the term re-education camp that's a Soviet term. That's not our headline. You add all this together, the elite have made the decision that the Earth's carrying capacity has been passed. They've decided to get us all ready with a cultural narrative that the fall of humanity is here. And then if you try to get prepared for it or try to stop it, they come to you and say, nothing's happening, everything's fine, move along, while they're running to bunkers. And a lot of it's mid-level elite. Even billionaires are mid-level to the top elite. They've just gotten the word it's all true, so they may be running early because they found out this is really the plan. It might be 2 years from now. I don't know. I want to stop it. They always spin it to say, he's just fear-mongering. He's just saying World War I could start. He's just saying World War II could start. He's just saying. We're seeing it. So how do we get the public to admit it? Well, we document it. And then how do we get the public to wake up to it and at least have a cultural discussion about, do we want the elite to poison us and kill us? Maybe we should just have public programs where they're very honest about it. You go to the euthanasia center and you get killed and your family gets some bonus creds and you get sterilized and you get bonus money. That's where they're moving. When robots do all the work and nobody can get a job, the elite write in their books that you're going to get sterilized for your 10-year welfare program. And then after 10 years, somebody in your family's got to be euthanized, and so the rest of the family gets to live. This is how they actuary it all out, like Logan's Run. They've been preconditioning us the whole time. What do you think human sacrifice was? It was about overpopulation in old societies. What they saw is overpopulation. Paul Watson, we're going to break, but I want to come back and talk to you about what we should put in this article and how we wake people up. But do you concur with my analysis and with the flurry of activity we're seeing? And where do you think it's going?
Oh, undoubtedly, Alex. There are 3 flashpoints, one of which is the potential for World War III, which, again, sober experts are talking about, not just us. Another is the bond market implosion, the economic collapse, the move towards banning cash altogether. And then the third pillar is the domestic unrest, which, of course, has been managed from the very beginning by people like George Soros. So when you get those 3 factors coalescing together, it could create the flashpoint for a major collapse. And, you know, I don't say that often, but I fully agree with you that this is probably the most dangerous time since I've been alive. I would say that, definitely since the Cold War. So we're in a very dangerous time right now.
And Ron Paul says in his life the most dangerous. Ron Paul says, get ready. It's all about to come down. I mean, it's incredible it's gone this far. Stay there, Paul. We're going to come back and break it down. 3 major globalist institutions, Stanford, Princeton, and Berkeley, have come out and said Earth is now entering its 6th extinction phase, and many species, including our own, are labeled the walking dead, and they predict humanity will become extinct in the next 100 years. Yes, humanity as we know it has been labeled for extermination. Terminated. I'm going back to Paul Watson, but let me, just to give you a flavor, give you the articles of the last 2 days, just to let you know what we're breaking down, the flavor. Ron Paul, economy will soon have day of reckoning when you'll see the very, very big crash. So Ron Paul, the big crash is coming, is basically what he said. Okay, let's move along. I have that video, by the way. We played it Friday. 12 signs the United States and China are moving towards war, up on Infowars.com. Top CEO warns of global reset. It's in the cards for sure. It could happen this year. Let's continue. Greeks turn to cash as bank crisis looms and government prepares to seize cash. Where's Germany's gold? They asked for it 6 years ago. They haven't been given any of it back. Now Texas is asking for its gold held at the private Federal Reserve in New York. Bloomberg. There's a pile of gold in Manhattan. Texas wants it back. China reveals what's behind its golden curtain, wants its Western gold. Why are the elite buying secret hideaways? London Guardian breaks it down. See what's inside the billionaire luxury doomsday bunker. What do they know? Why are so many of the super wealthy preparing bug-out locations? Zero Edge. Now, let's look at these articles. Pentagon studying protesters to prep for mass civil breakdown. Washington Times. I mentioned this earlier. London Guardian. Revolution, flash mobs, and brain chips. A grim vision of the future as their Ministry of Defense prepares for total collapse. Pentagon prepping for large-scale economic breakdown. Pentagon admits preparing for mass civil breakdown. Joint drills. Flashback, U.S. Army training to fight black Americans. That all happened back in November of last year. We broke down the footage we got of them training to round up mainly blacks, knowing the media was running propaganda that would stir folks up. New York Times on certainty of World War I, Europe sees modern parallels. So 1 century after, they see modern parallels. Parallels in 1914, what history teaches us about the Ukraine crisis, Der Spiegel. New Republic, what can 1914 tell us about 2014? Economists, historians, social critics, I mean, everybody sees it. It's hardcore, it's unmistakable. You don't even need a sixth sense to feel it. Then these InfoWars articles that link directly to Army.mil and the Fed BizOps website. Army manual outlines plan to kill rioters, demonstrators in America, 2012. Leaked U.S. Army document outlines plans for re-education camps in America, how to process you with your Social Security numbers, how to restrain you and your family. It's ultra hardcore. They set up plans to intern more than 8 million Americans under FM 3-39.40. That's declassified, by the way. Beyond denial, preparations for martial law. I mentioned that article. Very important. So, there's just some of what we've got in front of us today. Then you add this in. Carter, Secretary of Defense, U.S. to provide weapons, aircraft, commandos for NATO in a buildup against Russia. And U.S. troops, you can just type into YouTube, U.S. troops in Ukraine. There'll be hundreds of Vice videos. You name it, how great it is and how they're training to fight and how they're giving them the weapons and how they're engaging the Russians. While the Western Ukrainians engage in clear war crimes against the Russian-held areas. And I'm not picking a side here. The West started the whole thing and is escalating towards war. Then you've got the whole situation with the South China Sea and those islands and the artificial islands and all the rest of it, sitting on top 2.2 quadrillion in derivatives, and the elite now are accelerating bunkers, accelerating moving out of the country. I mean, I don't know what to do. I can just sit here and point this out. And then point out it's in Army.mil, Stars and Stripes, Army War College, Forbes, Washington Times, AP, Reuters, LA Times, and hundreds of other papers that the military is training to take on the Tea Party, veterans, gun owners, and Christians, and says we're all about to start engaging in terror attacks, and then magically it starts happening. I mean, put two and two together, it's probably staged. But regardless, they're trying to blame whole groups now for individuals' actions right on time. And George Soros, who overthrew Ukraine on record, bragged about it on CNN, on Fareed Zarkaria's show, is running around with Media Matters and others attacking myself, Matt Drudge, and others every few days, and basically having their surrogates calling for shutting us down. They're now having Raw Story and Salon and other articles that are complete White House mouthpieces saying it's time to shut Alex Jones up. He's dangerous. I'm not dangerous. The crazy fascists you work for are. Bringing us into the TPP outside of law. Opening the borders up outside of law. Obama saying he's going to go after guns outside of law. I mean, this is dangerous. I know there's a power trip for weak people to sign on to monoliths of evil, and that you feel power nuzzling up to it. But you're nuzzling up to a wicked, blood-drinking buzzard. It's not your mommy. I see the average liberal like a little chick, all cozied up against Baphomet. And Baphomet's just sitting there eating the little chicks, and they just love it. They think it's their mommy. And I guess occasionally the big vulture vomits up some of them for them to feed on, and they don't even know what they're eating. I mean, it's whacked out. And then the Republican blue bloods love Boehner trying to sell us out to NAFTA and GATT, merging with the EU and the Asian Union. It's all happening. The Pope calling for world government. Across the board, teaching 5-year-olds how to wear dresses in public schools. All of it just to screw everything up. It's on. Paul Watson, I've been ranting. I appreciate you coming on. I just really want to create a master article. I mean, maybe take a few days, maybe take a week, but we tend to procrastinate. We don't get together and brainstorm and just come up with it and just show in sectors how they used the Depression to bring in control in the 30s, how they've orchestrated collapses in third world countries, the economic hitman, the Joseph Stiglitz info from the World Bank, how it's orchestrated, how they're now doing it here, how they're destabilizing the Middle East, how they're destabilizing Ukraine, how they're selling humans as bad, how they're lowering our immune systems with the vaccines, how they're introducing this whole eugenics program, and how they're now moving us towards a global collapse out of which they bring in their world government. And then they can really orchestrate crises once they've got Russia and China merged with them following orders. There'll be nowhere to run, nobody to be in opposition when they're releasing bioweapons that are wiping out 99% of people that come in contact with it. They'll have the cure.